This is 23-year-old Jaleel Smith Riley faced sentencing for a crime that shattered the lives of two innocent individuals. Nearly 3 years prior, Smith Riley and two others approached 20-year-old Portia Brooks and her boyfriend, Aaron Martin, with the intent to rob them. After demanding money from Martin, Smith Riley shot him in the head, causing permanent brain damage.
There was a guy outside of the car who looked like he was bleeding from multiple spots.
When Brooks couldn't provide any money, she was also shot and tragically passed away 3 days later.
There's a lady in it, and she's bleeding.
Following a thorough investigation, Smith Riley was arrested and charged with both shootings. In order to avoid the death penalty, he pled guilty to aggravated murder and attempted murder. Now he faced a potential sentence ranging from 23 years to life without parole. Before the sentencing, Portia Brooks's family delivered powerful victim impact statements. They expressed the profound pain and emotional devastation caused by Smith Riley's greed, selfishness, and utter disregard for others' lives. They shared how he had mentally and emotionally destroyed them, leaving them with nothing but the painful reality that their beloved family member was gone.
He killed me mentally, emotionally. He killed my identity as a mother of 3, as a family of 4. This is what I have left because of his greed, his selfishness, his complete disregard of and disrespect of others and life. This is what I have left. I talk to her, I kiss her, I hold her. But as you can see, I get nothing back except the reality that she is gone.
Portia's younger sister also spoke, firmly stating her desire for Smith Riley to receive a sentence of life without parole.
He wants parole, well, I want my sister. Let's trade. I have to deal with life without Portia, so he should deal with life without parole.
When Smith Riley had the chance to address the court, he was in tears. He tried to convince them that he deserved leniency and claimed to feel genuine remorse.
Sorry. Go back away. I'm so sorry. This is what I call.
His defense attorney echoed this sentiment, describing Smith Riley as someone who thought about his actions every day.
This is somebody that feels genuine remorse. This is somebody that thinks about this every day, and he knows that he can't go back in time and undo what he did.
However, Judge Charles Kubicki had the final say. Considering the gravity of the crimes committed and the profound impact on the victims' families, Judge Kubicki sentenced Smith Riley to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Or defendant serve a term of life without parole.
When Smith heard the sentence, he slumped to the floor crying. This is 31-year-old Marshall Hendricks, who was charged with second-degree murder for fatally shooting his friend following an argument. Witnesses state that the victim, a 30-year-old male, confronted Hendricks, believing him to be having an affair with his girlfriend. During the altercation, Hendricks claimed that he thought his friend was reaching for a gun, prompting him to shoot the victim in the face. However, no gun was found on the victim. The true shock lies not in the crime itself, but in Hendricks' jaw-dropping behavior during the sentencing. Facing the possibility of a life sentence for second-degree murder, Hendricks enters into a plea agreement with the prosecution. In the plea agreement, he will plead guilty to the amended charge of voluntary manslaughter, which includes the use of a deadly weapon in the commission of the offense. As per the agreement, the state will recommend a sentence of 10 to 25 years in prison. The judge, though, makes it clear that the recommended sentence is not binding, and the final decision will be at the court's discretion.
With their own recommendation, I'm not bound to follow the terms of the agreement, but I'll exercise discretion in fashioning the sentence. Does that make sense to you?
During the plea hearing, Hendricks affirms that he is pleading guilty freely and voluntarily, with no pressure or coercion.
Did anyone pressure or coerce you into this plea? No, sir. Are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily? Yes. How do you plead to the amended charge of voluntary manslaughter? Guilty. Can you now share with me what it is that makes you guilty of that offense? Yes.
With his guilty plea, Hendricks is compelled to recount the tragic event in September 2019 when he got into a conflict with his friend, leading him to fatally shoot him. That's when he broke into tears. Totally shaken, he answers questions confirming his guilt, acknowledging that he took the life of the individual without malice or premeditation.
I got into a conflict with a friend of mine, and I became scared, and when I seen him behind his back, I thought he was reaching for a gun, and I didn't wait for his hand to come back out to be sure, and I shot him, and I killed him.
And just to accommodate specifically what is found in the language of this offense, this was done without malice and aforethought and premeditation.
As the court establishes a factual basis for the guilty plea, the sentencing is reset for a later date. Marshall Hendricks is now awaiting sentencing after pleading guilty to voluntary manslaughter with a deadly weapon, facing a potential prison term of up to 30 years. However, it's not the first time a convict has lost control in court. Just like, this is 25-year-old Jeffrey McDonald shed in court. McDonald faced sentencing for the tragic death of his girlfriend, 23-year-old Alyssa Johnson. 2.5 years earlier, McDonald was charged with first and second-degree manslaughter after allegedly beating Johnson unconscious during a heated argument in their apartment. Despite calling 911, Johnson passed away at the hospital due to blunt force trauma to the head and neck. Initially denying any involvement in Alyssa's death, McDonald later pleaded guilty as part of an agreement with the prosecution. In exchange for his plea, the first-degree manslaughter charge was dropped, leaving him only to face second-degree manslaughter charges. As if McDonald's offenses weren't enough, their demeanor in court will leave you dumbfounded. During the sentencing, Melissa Johnson's mother emotionally delivered her victim impact statement. She described Alyssa as a hardworking, public, loyal, courageous, funny, loving, kind, beautiful, and intelligent person who was the definition of perfection. Alyssa was not only her daughter, but also her best friend. She expressed the pain of losing her daughter, emphasizing that no apology or remorse would bring Alyssa back.
Lily was the daughter every parent wishes for: hardworking, humble, loyal, courageous, funny, loving, kind, beautiful, and intelligent. She was the definition of perfection. She was not only my daughter, she was my best friend. But you get to speak to your mother and to your family. My daughter's not coming back.
Following the victim impact statement, McDonald offered an apology to Alyssa's grieving mother while crying.
So sorry for the pain I caused you. Sorry. This was the love of my life.
But Judge Mario F. Matai wasn't moved. He saw no sincerity in McDonald's statement, pointing out the lack of sorrow for his actions. He condemned McDonald's violent behavior, calling him low and inhumane for raising his hands against a defenseless woman.
Today, I didn't see an ounce of sorrow in that statement you made. You batted a defenseless woman who weighed 107 pounds. You raised your hands to a woman. That makes you pretty low. In my book, that makes you a coward.
The judge revealed a disturbing detail from the night of Alyssa's murder. Before leaving the apartment, McDonald had propped up Alyssa against the bed and took a picture of her lifeless body. The judge expressed shock and disgust at the callous act, highlighting McDonald's complete lack of compassion.
But just when you think someone couldn't sink any lower, you proved everyone wrong. Before you left the apartment, you propped Miss Johnson up against the bed and took her picture. It is one of the most disturbing pictures I have ever been unfortunate enough to see. It's upsetting to think that you would take a picture of someone in that condition and she looks as though she's already passed.
Judge Matai acknowledged the limitations of the legal system to address the severity of McDonald's actions adequately. He recognized that no punishment could fully represent the depravity of beating Alyssa Johnson to death.
Lack of compassion is palpable. You don't have an ounce of decency in your body. There are no words that can describe how depraved and despicable your actions are. But no judge in this world can actually sentence you to what you deserve for callously beating Alyssa Johnson to death. So I don't need any crocodile tears in front of me today.
Still, he upheld McDonald's plea agreement, sentencing him to a minimum of 4 years and a maximum of 12 years in prison for second-degree manslaughter. This is Shelby Isaac, a 19-year-old accused of first-degree murder in the deaths of Eddie Tate and his girlfriend, Edwina Thomas. Thomas was 8 weeks pregnant at the time of the alleged incident. The alleged motive behind the killings was rooted in a dispute over a bad hair extension purchase. Nearly 2 years before the trial, Isaac purchased $250 worth of hair extensions from Tate. Dissatisfied with the purchase, she scheduled a second meeting with Tate to demand a refund. According to a witness's testimony claiming to be present at the time, Isaac allegedly shot and killed both victims during this encounter. The defense team argued that there was a lack of physical evidence tying Isaac to the murders. They implored the jury to follow credible and unbiased evidence, which in their view did not lead to Shelby Isaac.
When you follow the credible and unbiased evidence in this case, it does not lead you to Shelby Isaac.
While the heinousness of Isaac's actions is undeniable, the true shock lies in their behavior during the sentencing process. After considering all the evidence presented during the trial, the jury arrived at a verdict. Judge James Lammy read the verdict in the courtroom, announcing Isaac guilty of second-degree murder as included in count 1.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of second-degree murder as included in count 1. Signed by the foreperson of the jury. Mr. Albury, is that your verdict?
Upon hearing the news, Isaac collapsed to the floor. Despite the emotional scene, the judge continued with his duties, individually polling the jurors and proceeding to the next count. Isaac was found guilty of second-degree murder, as included in count 2 and count 4, with the latter pertaining to the criminally negligent homicide of the unborn baby. Throughout the trial, Isaac's emotions were visible as she screamed and pleaded for help at certain points, indicating the gravity of the situation. Ultimately, Shelby Isaac was convicted of 2 counts of second-degree murder, reckless homicide, and criminally negligent homicide of the unborn baby. She was sentenced to 30 years in a state penitentiary with eligibility for release not until the year 2040, when she reaches 42 years of age.